holy city of Jerusalem. Through 50 centuries of turbulent history, including repeated earthquakes, 19 military sieges, 2 total destructions by conquerors, and numerous reconstructions, people of many faiths have come here to worship their God. The Western Wall, where Jews gather to pay homage, was part of King Herod's work in the 1st century BC and represents the rebuilding of the Temple of Solomon. Muslims hold this great city to be the place where Muhammad ascended into heaven. Christians have revered it as the city of Jesus' last ministry and the crucifixion, and Jews revere it as their holy city. It is this latter bond, the mystic hold which Jerusalem has on the Jewish people of the world, that has led to the formation of the modern state of Israel. Jerusalem is a city of contrasts, the old juxtaposed with the new, and its architecture, like its history, is some of the richest and most colorful since the dawn of civilization. The old city was the original site of Jerusalem during the time of David, the warrior, statesman, and poet who indelibly linked Jerusalem to the Jewish religion, nation, and state. And today, to walk through the Arab marketplace within these ancient walls is to step 3,000 years back in time into a treasure house filled with historical echoes of a biblical civilization. Although Jerusalem is symbolic of the spirit of Israel, there is a vast but little-known part of this holy land that has also been of immense historical importance throughout the pages of history. And this is the 23,000 square miles of Sinai Peninsula. In the north, one finds an endless desert plain. And to the south, a great mountain range reaching deep into Saudi Arabia, across Sinai, and thence to Nubia on the African continent. Relics of destruction dot the landscape, stark reminders of the pathos and futility of war. Yet, in sharp contrast to this parched desert land, snuggling up against its shoreline is a body of water, just 20 million years old, young by geological standards, but so filled with wonderful and amazing sights, it is considered a mecca for sport divers. This is God's other world, the Red Sea. Nama Bay, at the tip of the Sinai, 5 miles north of the town of Ophira and south of Tel Aviv by 400 miles, is the home of the Marina Sharm Hotel and the Red Sea Diver Center. Together, the hotel and center provide the finest in accommodations and diving services to be found in the Sinai. The Red Sea Divers facility has over 150 sets of dive gear in stock, 2 45-foot dive boats, a spacious diving center, and weather conditions to dive 365 days a year. A staff of 15 assures guests of having all of their diving needs met. Howard Rosenstein, owner of the Red Sea Divers Center, an American, was born and raised in Los Angeles. Along with his partners, Yossi Kavazny and Michael Daniel, the trio has established a reputation for having carved out of the desert one of the most serviceable and best-run diving centers in the country. Because of Europe's close proximity, the Red Sea Divers Center caters largely to the European market. It has only been within the last few years that American groups have begun to visit this out-of-the-way tip of the Sinai Peninsula. Having loaded and boarded the Red Sea Diver 2, our team of divers heads south, led by a school of dolphins playing happily at the bow. Along the coast are numerous dive sites already explored by Howard and his guides. Each day of a vacation, one can dive a different spot, from an ancient amphora-laden shipwreck to an underwater temple, Howard's Temple, named after the man who was first to dive there. It's a gigantic coral head rising up from 60 feet to the surface, where at low tide its flat tabletop is awash. With the anchor secure, divers begin to dress, anticipating the special world they are about to enter. Underwater lights are made ready, wetsuits slipped into, regulators attached to tanks. Sari Gaines, model, diver, and film production assistant, will lend her own kind of beauty to the underseascape. The generator is started, the lights are operating, and, with last-minute adjustments, the divers are about ready to go. Underwater naturalist photographer Bob Abrams lowers a Nikon with a double strobe system into the water, just one of several still cameras he'll take down with him for a dive. Since spearfishing along the coast is prohibited, with most of the fringing reef areas set aside as a nature reserve, divers hunt with cameras. Howard and his guides are volunteer rangers, helping to preserve the beauty of the area. Divers are encouraged to take home fish on film only. Bob doesn't like to be caught short of film, so he carries an ample supply of cameras around with him underwater. Through one of the numerous crevices sculptured into the temple, Sari threads her way to a niche that is particularly beautiful. To dive along a coral reef like this is to dream with both eyes open. With powerful cable lights emitting 2,000 watts of light, solid rock magically billows up in a dazzling rainbow of colorful, fluffy thunderheads and turreted castles. Tiny goldfish dart busily underneath a tabletop of Acropora coral, never really aware of the fascinating colors to be found in their home. The sea, a blue filter, mutes these colors until a light source is introduced. Why is it this spectral symphony is never to be seen by most of the reef inhabitants? Like rainbow-hued cotton candy, soft alcinarian corals dazzle and delight the eye. These soft corals do not have a hard limestone skeleton. Instead, the polyps are embedded in a stiff jelly-like matrix. Alcinarians can collapse into unimpressive forms when not feeding. Here, the coral is erect and nourishing itself on plankton particles that the tiny polyps garnish from the water. Nudibranchs, barely an inch long, are some of the most colorful animals found in the sea. Nudi means naked, and branch means gill. Naked gills is an appropriate name, for their gills are the exposed bumps and frills that you see on these two specimens. Not only do nudibranchs crawl along the bottom, they can also push off and swim short distances. Some that are not particularly good swimmers land in rather precarious positions and stand the chance of being run down by a high-speed runaway relative. An eerie landscape, befitting a fairy tale, turns out to be leather coral. Unlike stony varieties, this soft coral too lacks a hard skeleton. Spicules embedded in the ample flesh and the ability to pump its tissues full of water lend it stability. Because of the sponge-like consistency, leather corals can withstand strong currents. Having just undergone a cleaning from this little blue wrasse who has quickly picked him free of parasites, this mottled red scad seems content with his lot in life as he views his world with a busy eye. These emerald blue coral fish live in schools of up to 100 and generally prefer to live in acropora coral with deep crevices. When danger approaches, they scurry down into the limestone maze, safe from hungry jaws. In return for food, the clownfish living among the tentacles of this poisonous sea anemone are protected from predators. Territorial angelfish are considered to be the most strikingly beautiful of all fish found in temperate waters. The dorsal spines on this peacock lionfish are poisonous and could cause shock and severe pain to a careless diver. However, this beautiful fish is not aggressive, preferring simply to be left alone. Its close cousin, the fire lionfish, is equally beautiful and unsafe to touch. Bob focuses in on a perfectly camouflaged scorpionfish. With a little light shed on the subject, you can see its sharp dorsal fins, also containing a strong poison. This lethargic fish, blending so well into its surroundings, is capable of inflicting a painful wound. But to activate its defensive mechanism, usually the diver must literally blunder into it. The rule here is look, but don't touch. Sari drops down to illuminate one of the most curious and friendliest of the Red Sea angelfishes. The queen angel is also called the map angel because of the yellow patch on its side which resembles the shape of the continent of Africa. With a tidal change of only 2 to 3 feet, even at high tide, it's possible to stand above water on many coral heads and most shoreline fringing reefs. With a bird's-eye view of miniature Grand Canyons and mountain ranges, the Red Sea is a snorkeler's paradise. Suddenly, you become a live-in resident in this gigantic fishbowl. Below, in 50 feet of water, Sari has brought lunch for the reef fish to entice them into the range of the underwater camera. With the customary good taste of arriving just a few minutes late, the proud queen angel quickly discards her good manners and gobbles up the bread Sari offers her. Some that is missed is quickly snatched up by a grouper, only to be spewed out as highly unpalatable. Another try, and another upchuck. So much for non-kosher bread. One day, when Howard and Sari were walking up the beach to the dive center, they met Howard's friend, Sheikh Abu Abdullah, Sheikh of Sheikhs for the Southern Sinai. A proud and influential man, he served with Montgomery in the African campaign during the Second World War. He's a wealthy man, owns a fleet of taxicabs, has a number of wives, and after seeing Sari, he considered the possibility of obtaining another one. South of Nama Bay, sheer sandstone cliffs rise from hundreds of feet underwater. And along this craggy shoreline, with its hidden bays and coves at places like Ras Umsid, Marsa Bareka, and Ras Muhammad, there can be found some of the most spectacular drop-off diving in the world. And at the Straits of Tiran, consisting of Thomas, Gordon, Woodhouse, and Jackson Reefs, fringing coral ramparts continually built up by coral animals provide broad diving platforms for divers to comfortably work from. During deep dives, there could be no finer place to decompress than along the face of a Red Sea coral wall. Here at the Straits, great schools of pelagic fish patrol these coral walls day in and day out. Outwardly peaceful, it is in reality a battleground where the strong eat the sick and weak. It is survival of the fittest, a way that nature keeps things in balance. It's a good workable system, for the Red Sea has been alive and healthy for millions of years. Slender barracuda in schools of 100 band together 90 feet down. Like silvery darts, the 3-foot-long predators strike prey with lightning-fast bursts of speed. An hour's ride by car from the diving center, or 3 days by camel if you prefer, there is a sprawling oasis, straight out of a storybook, and home of a tribe of Bedouins known as the Mezena. The Bedouins are descendants of the nomadic tribes of Saudi Arabia, who have been roaming these deserts and mountains for thousands of years. Quite near this oasis, there rises like a weirdly crenellated castle above the inlet of the sea that surrounds it, the dead city of Attur. For years, Attur thrived as a stopping-off point for Egyptians, traveling from Mecca in Saudi Arabia back to Egypt. When the Israelis captured the Sinai in the Six-Day War, the Egyptians abandoned it. And today, in all of the blank and crumbling facades of these ancient houses and mosques, it is inhabited only by shifting sands and a handful of Bedouins. To enter the sea at night is a special treat. While dressing for the dive, with the absence of a warming sun, the placid water seems even warmer after sundown than during the day. With a couple thousand watts of light to illuminate the ocean floor, the nighttime sea holds many pleasant surprises. A blanket of darkness transforms a reef. Coral polyps, tucked into their skeletons when the sun shines, come out at night to sift the plankton-rich waters. Animals that sleep by day come out at night to forage, and others, such as the squid, fairly translucent and capable of changing color and patterns, stand out sharply defined, silhouetted by the lights. During the day, the peacock lionfish lethargically decorates the crevices of a coral reef. With potent, protective dorsal spines, the fish unconcernedly remains in one spot. At night, it becomes a hunter, moving into the shallows to stalk and feed on tiny minnows. These passive, almost drifting swimmers suddenly dart forth with amazing speed to devour a small fish. Watch closely. Crinoids, dating back millions of years, are among the oldest known forms of animal life in existence today. Sometimes called feather stars, the central portion of the animal is cup-shaped and surrounded by arms which draw plankton from the ocean currents into their mouths. The crinoid tucks itself away during the day, and at night tiptoes over the coral, positioning itself in its quest for food. Against the backdrop of night, a masked pufferfish is aroused from its stupor by the bright lights. The unicorn fish, famous for the long horn protruding from its head, prefers to feed near deep-water reefs and drop-offs. Certainly the most beautiful and dazzling fish in all the seas has to be Pomacanthus imperator, the emperor angelfish. With Sari's assistance, Bob focuses his camera on another unique fish. Photoblepharon is a combination of Greek terms roughly meaning eyelid of light. The luminescent light organs of this tiny fish are among the brightest of any animals. Watch the lights come on when Sari lets the fish go. One of the largest and most vibrant of nudibranchs, the Spanish dancer is an eye-catcher. Under the brilliance of artificial lighting, this velvety smooth animal glides over the corals feeding on algae. The flower-like bouquet on its dorsal surface is actually the animal's gills. The Spanish dancer is capable of leaving its coral pastures and swimming free. The fashion in which it does so, with graceful undulations of its body, is so reminiscent of the flourish of a dancer's skirt that it is indeed aptly named. In 90 feet of water, halfway between Nama Bay and Howard's Temple, there is an ancient wreck site that was worked by professional archaeologists a few years ago. Still intact on the sloping reef are large amphoras and ship's anchors. Howard points out one of the anchors to Sari. The ship was a Turkish vessel heading south 450 years ago when a storm caught her unawares and sent her crashing into the reef, spilling her contents and smashing the wooden hull to pieces on the seafloor. Along with navigational aids, some of the anchors and amphora were removed to a maritime museum in Haifa, where today they are on display. Some of the amphora were carrying mercury, a metal that flows so readily it is sometimes called quicksilver. By fanning away at sand pockets, some of it may be exposed. In ancient times, mercury was used for refining gold and silver ore. The ore was crushed, the mercury mixed with it, and by a process called amalgamation, the gold was separated from the stone. Howard's thinking about opening a thermometer factory. Far around the tip of the Sinai and just into the Gulf of Suez is a wreck site recently discovered by Howard. In conversations with an old Bedouin one day, he learned of this wreck and realized that if it proved to be what the Bedouin had claimed, it would be of great historical significance. The journey from the dive center takes about 3 hours by boat, passing the craggy cliffs of Ras Muhammad and striking out into deep ocean waters. In 1918, when T.E. Lawrence, more popularly known as Lawrence of Arabia, led the Arabs in revolt against Turkish domination, he brought from England a number of vessels carrying gold sovereigns with which to pay off the Arab leaders. A couple of these ships didn't make it. This is one of them, the Dunraven. Running up against an uncharted reef, the ship turned completely over, exposing its belly to the surface and settling into a permanent grave. For over 60 years, the ship lay like this until Howard located it in 85 feet of water, its hull slowly rusting and corroding into the bottom. The ship furnished a new base on which corals could attach and grow, thus creating a new reef. Near the bow, the ship is broken in half, and entering through a living wall of glassy sweepers, Howard, Sari, Bob, and dive guide Liz Cook swim into this historical time capsule. Down long passageways, the divers probe the blackness with their lights, unsure of what they'll find in this virgin wreck. How many pairs of feet went scurrying up this ladder to escape the engine room when the ship thundered into the reef? Sari searches the darkness with her light, and it falls upon the helm. Is she the first to hold the ship's wheel in 60 years? What other prizes are located under the jumbled mass of iron and steelwork? Are there indeed gold sovereigns hidden somewhere inside the ship? Only extensive research, and perhaps a salvage operation, will find out. For the moment, because of limited time, it is enough for the divers to step back into a colorful part of history, to be where no human has been in the last 6 decades, to be in the shadow of Lawrence of Arabia. When the setting sun meets a perfect calm, its light, reflected from Ochre Mountains in Saudi and Jordan, turns the steel blue water a crimson shade, making it indeed a Red Sea. It is a place where modern man with a diving mask can witness life flourishing in greater variety than anywhere else on Earth. The Red Sea is a vast underwater hothouse, a precious jewel worth preserving. The profuse, colorful life hidden in this special world is magnified by the stark terrestrial landscape, stretching in pastel colors as far as the eye can see. And where but here, in the cradle of civilization, is there to be found such a contrast, where one can walk in the footsteps of Jesus, or trace the path of Moses through nearby mountains where he led his people out of bondage, where, in 5,000 years, time has practically stood still.